My hands were itching to fish our purse out of the guard's pocket. قلت دل में بسيار مخاص. وترافس المركنو. Confess the one night. اعتراف قلت والله بسيار تستخرج كيفين زون تستخرج مركنو واپس. But I had not your leave. लेकिन बेइजाज़त से तुम्हारी कार में ना. तुम्हारे मने के देखे थे क्या? बेइजाज़त में इलाज ना बने तो. Chapter 10. In those remote times, every large city of the East had a title of dignity. As well as name. Thus, Bukhara was known by the grand and imposing name of Bukhara-i Sharif, which means noble royal Bukhara. Samarkand bore the title of a valorous, victorious and splendorous, while Kokand, in keeping with its situation in a flourishing valley, Kokand manek wadi bud, and a grey, careless disposition of its inhabitants was called Kokandi Latif, meaning merry, pleasant Kokand. There was a time, and not so very long ago, when the title was a felicitous one, for there was not a city anywhere that could vie in the great number of its festivals. In recent years, however, a gloom had been cast upon Kokand. Kokand as a chand sala ka ghamgin rahi, and its blithe spirit had been quelled by the austere hand of the new Khan. The new Khan ke se bekhi depressed kar tamam razir sota kada family festivals were still celebrated by force of habit. Ali riwaj hai ke mardum festival akhmigra mukhtalif. The trumpeters and drummers still exerted themselves zealously outside the chaykhanas. Dolo surnai chaykhana mast diga. The jesters Latifa Goya still perform their antics at the bazaars for the entertainment of Kokand's light-minded inhabitants. But the festivals were not what they were. The gaiety lacked sparkle. Lekin e festivala the festival nabud ki mushud asli wala ish. Ye am tur sarsaraki. Sparkle na dasht. Depressing rumors trickled from the palace. Afwahai ajib gharib as Mahal Badshah Mehmad, the new Khan, inflamed with the zeal of Islam, devoted all his time to pious converse. And cared for little else. Yani Badshah dunya Khan dunya dagam dunya ijniya. Mullahs, mudarrises and ulemas poured into Kokand from all over the land. Zarja ke mullah bud mudarris bud daramad gufteni khub khan hai bishar mazhabi khan Badshah gori ke khub karwala. Wa girdi khan ram kista kul mullah girfta. To feed all this greedy hoard, money was needed. And so the taxes were increased. The Khan's sole diversion was horse racing. He had been a passionate lover of horses ever since a child, and not even Islam could quench that passion in him. In every other respect, however, he was beyond reproach, and his heart was locked against the hollow vanities of the world. The garden path between the haram and the royal bedchambers was overgrown with grass, and it was many a day since the tap of tripping footsteps had been heard upon it in the still hours of night, accompanied by the slow, wheezy breathing of the chief and the dreary shuffling of his dragging, slippered feet. The Khan demanded similar chastity from the lords of his court and piety from his subjects. The town swarmed with guards and spies. الكل كستا تقريبا محل كستا يقسم مسجد جورجتا شاو كستا مش تهجد خاندم شاو تسبيح خاندم شو دماني باغا يزو और सब्ज़ा मब्ज़ा बिचार ज़्यादा चुदा कस दका में बागम नहीं है the town कैसा बस पुरस guards हो जासूस हो सिपाही हो इस चीज़ा की कंट्रोल करना शहरा New interdicts with new punishments for disobedience were forever being proclaimed. No punishment or no fitwa jari mushud. Only a few days ago, a farman concerning adultery had been issued. Adultery यानी कि तू married अस्ते लेकिन as married bro कैसे तू activity जारी है. हो दबारे ज़ू एक farman जारी शुदा बद. In accordance with which faithless wives were to be punished by flogging and faithless husbands were to be deprived of their masculinity under the knives of the legal physician. Numerous other farmans were there of the same kind. Muslim ziyori khatarnak farmana jari bud. Kini tirkin. Ai kara kada ini tirkin khazze. Every inhabitant of Kokand lived as it were in a meshwork of thousands of threads to which little bells had been hung. No matter how careful you were, you could not help brushing against one of the threads. Kokand mislemi tarshuda buda कि अमी पूरा कुल्ली कोकान कैसा अमी तरफार असी तरफ दो तरफ जुलका किशुदा बस दज़ुना कैसा अमी तर गेंटी अब्ज़ो है यानी तू किराम बोरी तू बाइट बिस्यार एहतियात करने की देगो गेंटी पाइट ना खरा इंजी वाला ज़िंदगी जर्से दुरेज़ना कैसना क्या कैसना खबर नाश नहीं वहाँ खुदा खबर चिकार करता ये कदर सख्कीरी But so potent is the spell of spring that during the days of which we speak, the inhabitants of Kokand forgot their troubles. मगर इनमें बहार कैसा आर्ची की हालत depressing बुध लेकिन बहार was different. शर्की बाशिंदाई Kokand तकरीबन नमुगामा ज़्यादा शर्फ़त. Under the brilliant rays of the young sun, the bazaar presented a scene of noisy animation. Noisy animation दिखा मोरा में वो अच्छा famed since olden times for their love of flowers मशहूर बुदन दबारे इश्क़ी गुल्हा and songbirds परिंदा की मेखाना and people of Kokand had remained true to their custom वही रिवाज बुदार कदम एक दिना मुर्ग एक परिंदर दमन एक चीज़ बन के तख़्तोत खवर्दा चकार बुर्दा एक दिन फर दिए इन्हीं शौकी मर्दू Everyone had a tulip or a sprig of jasmine, मुख्तलिफ गुलाय दिया, or some other spring flower stuck under his skull cap over the ear. يقول يقول قول ज़रूर दमने कोले खंडे गौर कदा, बस बिल्गोश खंडे इश्ता, ऐंतर रही है दिया, हर किसी को नकुल ज़दा मुझे. Winged little captives were warbling away in the darkness, and often some idle chaykhana frequenters would toss the keeper a coin and amid the approving hum of the company open the cage door and set the little songster free. दिगा चिरकम रिवाजा कि नज़दीकाई चायखाना एमितर पंजरे चीज़ रहा मितर कवर करा दूर नज़ू मितर परपरक मिज़ा दरो लेकिन वक्त की ना खानदोर शुरू मना बज़े गोदना कि मन चायखाना में तश्ता बज़े फरमाइशी में दज़मगर वाज़िश कोने बज़र बेश में दज़बज़ूर वाज़ न दरवाज़े बरस दरवाज़ वाज़ मगर दिगेश रवाज़. Wagons, horsemen, and pedestrians would stop, and everybody with upturned face would watch its rapturous free flight in the shining sky. Tamam, brrr, kim ke tom, ra. Azad. Azad. ये रिवाज है दो रकम एक फ्लावर वाला है गजी परिंदार आज़ाद होना. Father Torokhon is expecting good deeds from us, Khoja Nasreddin said to his one-eyed companion. कि Father Torokhon कहता है अज़मो आमाल सालेह ना आमाल फासिद. Let us then begin with these these poor little captives. Take this money, but remember, not a single tanga must you abstract from any gaper, even though his purse did not gaze at you with appealing eyes. Jebi kasra kar namegirdi. I hear and obey. Chash Parwan. One-eyed said. The one-eyed went up to the nearest chaikhana and bought up all the birds at once. Brother chaikhana paisar da tamam birds balgada. One after another, they rose into the sky with a flash of wings in the sun. A crowd gathered and blocked the roadway. Loud praise of the one-eyed's generosity was heard. One-eyed He opened each cage, took out the bird, held it in his hand for several moments, enjoying the living warmth of its body, the tremulous palpitation of its tiny heart. Then he tossed it into the air with the words, "Fly in peace." I fly, thank you, good man. I shall say a kind word for you to Father Torakhon. It answered in its own bird language, then vanished. The one-eyed laughed, a low, happy laugh. It is a wonder that I never thought of this before. I sometimes had a lot of money and could have set them free by the thousand. I never thought that this child's play could so gladden one's heart. एक बच्चे गाना आ रखा था ना, लेकिन छक दिला दम खुश ना, माँ का शिकार गा खबर मुझे माँ तुम रुपी रे, मैं उर्दू में 4,000 दाना फारे मगरम, तो खुशहाल ना दम लगे बड़ा फ्री ना. There are many things that you know not, and still do not know, answered Khoja Nasreddin, thinking within himself, I have not been mistaken in that man. أول ورمجة كانوا خيل إجزار فيها تجرفتني باي ياخذ رزق قبايا وقت خد فكرنا مجا I have not been mistaken in that man. تباريزيش طبعا نعرف ثم he has preserved in his heart the living fount. يي أمم سميتشي أنوز أسترنيزي. Make way, disperse, came menacing shouts. Gumshin, Rarbankin, Rarkhalaskin, accompanied by a roll of drums. Drum, drum, drum. The crowd fell back and broke up. Jamjama kibud khalas shud, and Khoja Nasreddin perceived before him a great officer of state. Afsar Hukumat, astride a chestnut Takin stallion. Ale Takin negek mantiqa bash az u stallion aspinar magras Takin. Belezu suar ek dana afsar hukumat. This grandee was surrounded on all sides by a pose of guards, all fierce, big-mustached zealots of the grabbing brotherhood. Naam azir grabbing brotherhood ishtamu ki girftar nana azi brotherhood budai. With fat red faces, armed with spears, naizada dishi, sabers, pole axes, and other awesome implements. The grandee's chest glittered with a multitude of medals. Large and small, and his well-fed face, with its black twirled mustache, expressed insolent pride. The stallion, which two men were holding by its bridle, pranced and curvated, glanced askance with a fiery purple eye, arched its neck and champed the bit. Its saddle cloth gleamed with gold. Description and now alfazai, most of it is adjectives. tamam. Describe mana صورة حال راكي grandi قد قدمتم تراخ وينجا ولبلب دغول بازار وكارمنتي أسبزوم تقريبا منيش جولد كارش دبديا. Whence come you, wretched ragamuffins? The grandee demanded, his lower lip thrust out in distaste. Venezuela. Oh! Had he but known who it was standing where before him in that shabby robe, the greasy skull cap and those patched boots, we are rural dwellers who have come to Kokang for the bazaar. Kis tesh mas gjandet. Mo amizi mantiqe nezdik amz qariye pas zinjamde amz sauda da bazaar amde. Khoja Nasreddin answered meekly, ajzana, with a look of servile humility upon his face. We have done no wrong and have only set free a few birds to the glory of our peerless Khan. The Shadi Shadmani Khani Bejores Muksmo Chan Perinda in Jazat Kade Sarshi. And as a token of respect towards you, O illustrious beacon of might, Ay Qudrat Mandi Jahan, Bakhadir Khottu. Are there no other ways of expressing devotion to the Khan and respect to me than by setting free some silly birds and collecting a crowd? The grandee demanded angrily, uttering the words, setting free, with twisted lips of loathing towards their hidden meaning. It is high time that all these setting free were forbidden. He said very wry-mouthed, all these stupid customs that disgrace my city. You have money to spend? I see. And instead of piously paying it into the treasury, that were verily a means of proving your devotion. You squander it in the bazaar. Search them. He commanded his guards. Inali to Mingarni Grandira for the first time, Kirish the Inali. Scene change the come. Inali character of the Orgosh, character another Maya. Taking the same character. I Grandia or Emita Tamtrakwala, Emita the Khan, Honutaraki, Tamam Rose, family, the Wazina Siato, Zizal Laga. और बाजार मज़ार बन गया हर जगह चेक पोस्ट है वो नफर आहिस्ता है ये नफी किधर जा रहे हैं खोज नसरुद्दीन and the one-eyed were seized गिरफ्तार कर लिए गए दोनों ठीक and stripped of their girdles, robes and shirts हर चीज़ दस तमाम चीज़ लुच के जाने the guards exultantly held up to their lord a purse filled with silver and copper. Grandee smiled viciously, pleased at his own perspicacity. Perspicacity. What is this? Perspicacity मतलब भी खुशहाल है चुनकी वक्त की बरामद चुदी ना गिरफ्तार शुज़ मने ज़ूदी का एक चन बस्ता सिल्वरो नखदीना बराबर शुद्ध सिक्का. It's what I thought. ना गुफ्तम? Put it away. जाम कुइरा. He commanded the chief of his guards, you will give it to me later to be handed over to the treasury. The guard dropped the purse into the fathomless pocket of his wide crimson trousers. Trouser dashed, lekin and the grim cavalcade moved on to the sound of a rolling drum. In front, the grandee upon his horse. Behind him, his guards in crimson trousers and high boots, with the drummer in similar trousers but no boots. His rank entitled him to none. The drummer, the dol wala, to the karna reward mode. Bringing up the rear, and wherever they passed, the gay clamor of the bazaar was silenced. The chaykhana emptied. And the birds, frightened by the drum, stopped singing. All life ceased. Jo zindagi jari thi wo ruk gayi. Froze beneath the glassy stare of the grandee. And all that remained in its stead were his farmans, with their dire threats and interdicts. बस फकत एक सरसदाई मत फरमान जारी है कि हर किसी तार खराय तराय तने खने में अच्छा. But as soon as he passed, life came into its own again behind his back. Riotous with color and sound, forever young and unquenchable, defiant of all interdicts, laughing at them. He passed through life like a hostile foreign body. As many zindagi, misliya gabitar ajnabi cheez wariki doesn't belong to life. He could for a while check its flow. Yaglaza wari grandi Methodist ki chief of police yaglaza dane mardom khab kana magar yaglaza zindagi rakh turog ne mitni. But he was powerless to subdue it and keep it under his will. ज़्यादा देर ना, मैं खुद को निशान में दे बस तमाम खुद, भाई सलाम अलैकुम आप खैरियत से हैं, वज़ू की रात में गया और भाई आ जाओ. Great living life rejected him with every one of her spring flowers, with every one of her sounds. Khoja Nasreddin gazed after the retreating guards and said, the chief, who wailed earthly power, are divided into three species. Se qisma. Amunai ki the qudrati zameen ra rui zameen ra ki ikhtiyarat ra istemal na se raqama. The minor, the medium, and the major, according to the degree of mischief that they work. We are left without a copper in our pockets. But it could have been worse. We might have been left without our heads as well. For that chief was of the major species. My hands were itching to fish our purse out of the guard's pocket. Confess, Daaman. But I had not your leave लेकिन बेइजाज़त तो माँ ही कारण है ना तुम्हारे मने की देखी थी क्या बेइजाज़त में इलाज ना बने तो Do you never think of yourself? Khoja Nasreddin returned with a chagrin. To restore a purse to its rightful owner requires no special leave. The figure خود خیلی نیتو باشه. وقتی آدم میخواد که یک چیز ده حق داغدار برسن نه اون اجازه لازم نیه. تو چرا منتظر اجازه ماشته بودی؟ Here it is. Here it is, said the one-eyed, and with these words he pulled the missing purse out from under his girdle. Gufdana Sahib. He also had 2 bracelets in his pocket. Gufdana gardan mand extra. Gold ones. So nahi, to judge by their weight. But I did not take them. ما بس نقرفتهم لا بس أنا خذ معلوم شو كيت The recovery of the purse was celebrated by a grand feast. दावत हो गया भाई कि purse recovered था at the nearest cook shop. The keeper was run off his legs, serving his generous customers with viand after viand, seasoned with pungent Afghan condiments that seared the tongue and palate. ومزيه زي describe ना कि بيخي منداش ده بس كفرمايشة هذا رمز best food أو ده كي يقدر سخي مهمان ما نقدر. From the cook shop they went to a chaikhana. From the chaikhana to a cellar of honey snow. And ended the feast at a halwa tray. Ice cream am khorda, halwa am khorda, az pesh kesta, chai khana, chai ram zada, az pesh naan zabardast am zada. Azik kitcha dawat mein khain cho. Then they went about through the bazaar, the Gardish bazaar burshudan. And the Kokan bazaar in those days was of such length and breadth that not even the fleetest of runners could have made the round of it at a single go. There was a man who the peak khubud ishara and يقدر دراز ويقدر فراخ بود कि the एक round हमें बेहतरीन रारा वाम न मित्रिस कवर करना देख दफा उसको टवाज़ार हो मंदम शुदान. The silk row alone stretched for a length of 2 aero flights. एक aero flight ताम सुना रहा बाशा ताम जी जंडर शायद बोरा बाऊं एक aero flight एक तीर की देही ताम जो खाद रफ्त ना अगर इस बाल देही इन्हें 2 aero flight कैस्ता हमो दराजी खाली silk row बड़ा हमो लाइनी खाली रेशम सौदा मुझे ओनुश देही खाली दुकानें रेशम है मुझे ना बस दिगर खम दिगर दुकान आयन मेरे खम. The silk row alone stretched for a length of 2 aero flights, and the potters, इतरफ लाइनी potters है, कुज़गर footwear, chaplidos, armorers, garments, and other rows were not much shorter. As for the horse fair and the cattle market, their size was vast. Oh, ujai ki asbas hodam shud, wa ganji gawa, udi ke pusan na koi sabsh. The hadd ke mingar di asbas gawa isne. Yani mingar chik kalan bazara. All this immense space was filled with a surging, swarming, jostling throng. خلق زدري بضرب ولا من بازار بوري شيالا يو كلام صدري كراچي کی بوري يا وانا ده كابول بوري شيالا ده شاري كابول انا پودي بازاري چیز کیسه شاهزاده مترفا کی بوري اتای را گشتونی دیگه خلاصه. Khoja Nasreddin and his companion elbowed their way through it with difficulty. Elbowed. Inzila rafta bhai raih burkana bhai. Digar kham bushdane. No pen can describe the profusion and splendor of the wares laid out upon counters, rush mats, and carpets. يعني از بيان برويا و تفصيل يزو أشياء بلي قالنا بلي ميزان بلي اشتاي بلي ديكوريشن مردماء قلايق مايا مراو تماشا قدرية. Describe يقول قلم نمي تنادي خلاصة ورا يقدر نزاكت كارية. Everything that the east of that day could boast of was there. مشرقي وزمان كي مقفت هر چیز گیرز ماستنا ونمونج تمام شده ونمونج
موجود بازار
سلك رودم بود और मशरिक़ कैसे होते हैं मशरिक़ बोल दिया hookahs from the simplest and crudest to the most expensive ones of his Istanbul workmanship hookah की Istanbul आवाज़ खूब नामी कारीगरी शुरू or ornamented with gold and precious stones दीदे बाशिन चुमों दिया ना कि अतराफ जी मुख्तलिफ संगाम इसने silver backed Indian looking glass for the fair ravishers of masculine hearts diverse colored Persian carpets Qalinai farce that enthrall the eye with the extraordinary delicacy of their patrons. كم سائل كني بيخيم ترمون ندم تفسير زوجي وجدور بعفتاي رزالي. Persian carpets were famous in the dunya. Silks, which have borrowed their brilliance from the sun. كم shine for the sun borrowed that silk. Velvet, surpassing its softness and luster, the deep evening sky, trays, bracelets, earrings, saddles, knives. Boots, robes, chapan, skull caps, girdles, ewers, ambergris, musk, attar of roses. But here we must check the headlong career of our pen for a list of all the riches of the Kokan Bazaar could fill 2, if not 3, bulky volumes. كنت بلاهم زي قلم خير لازم راهم كانوا ما منجي. چونکه اگر ما یک شروع کنم دوسری جلد میشه که فقط ما لیست زونار جور کنم که چیز available. Bazaar day, crowded with vivid colors, sounds, and odors, flew by quickly. روزهایی که در بازار تو در می رنگ برنگی صداها خوشبوها ایدنا مفهمی چطور تیر بازار کلا نمیره کنی که انت در می دل نشاوش. The sinking sun was melting the fringes of the high clouds, which glowed with a rosy light. Describe Mechidtv setting sun قد clouds that are rang bazina. The hours of repose had set in. Sham ho gayi, rest time. Bazaram quiet sta. People departed to their homes. Khana rahi tamam. Visitors repaired to their chaykhanas. Ona kas diga jayam da ona da chaykhana daram. Unke muh musafir khana mein. But the drums announcing the close of the bazaar had not sounded yet. Ek final drumming mushta ki bazaar band, tabalra nashda. And many of the shops were still plying their trade. Yani mere kam sari shama anos tabal dukana tamam ish ban nashda. Wa final drum am bajao nashda. Among these, in Alatai bind the next character. Among these was the shop of a money changer. By the name of Rahim Bhai, one of Kokan's wealthiest citizens. Money changer diga bacha. Karbar wala hu a stout man with a double chin. With a double chin. A stout man with a double chin, puffed up cheeks, and a beefy neck that bulged from under his robe. Wearing a multitude of rings. On short, stubby fingers, he sat behind his counter. Gazing down with heavy lidded eyes at the neat little stacks of gold, silver, and copper coins that were set out on it.